Hey, what's up, Facebook? Sorry, we've been having technical difficulties. Sometimes building a better mousetrap gets you in more trouble than it's worth. Uh,
Sometimes
we're
having two
live.
different browsers open too, and one of them streaming to Facebook for you, and the other one's just on Facebook, messes you up too and screws up everything.
Yeah, so word to the wise kids, keep it simple, stupid. So, what's going on, Jason? How are you, buddy?
I'm good, other than the fact that I obviously don't know how to use a computer and browsers, and I had a streaming, had everything ready. I thought I was like, we're gonna use a new broadcasting method and all this other stuff, and just throw gasoline on the fire because that's what it was.
So it's kind of like letting Ryan Johnson write and direct a Star Wars movies. Basically, sounds like what you had. You had the perfect foundation. Everything was good, and then the director comes in there and screws it all up. So maybe.
Yeah, I pulled a Ryan Johnson. We have a great system. So for those of you that don't know, kind of how this works is we all don't sit in one room. Unfortunately, we live across the country, so we use Skype, and I grab the audio from Skype into OBS, and then use OBS to make the magic of the stream happen. And we've been trying to introduce webcams to it so you could see our faces are for radio and not TV. But Skype's been kind of derpy on that for me and not wanting to work right. So I was like, all right, we'll try Teams. Well, and then that didn't work. And then of course I'm streaming already and trying to do this in the background. Yeah, anyway. Which is
I
why I'm
mean,
not a
all
professional
I
streamer.
wanted to do was go to Toshi Station and pick up some power converters. I don't know what's so difficult about
And get some
this.
blue milk while you're at it, okay?
And drink some blue milk. That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
well, it looks like it's just gonna be us tonight, which is fine. Sometimes we like to keep it simple, stupid, or keep it with simple stupids like Jason and I. But sometimes we'll have guests on. Just depends on what our low friends in low places have on their agenda on a Tuesday night if they want to join us. So hopefully we get some Facebook interaction, if anything. So if anybody's watching on Facebook, go ahead and chime in the chat box, and we'll maybe have some conversation that way. But without further ado, what do we talk about this week? It's kind of a we'll call. I know we're going to do the Star Wars Episode 2 review, but it's kind of a slow Star Wars week. Not much. I think a lot of what you and I are kind of excited for is coming up next week with the E3
Yeah.
conference going on. Then we're getting into the summer Comic Con, craziness, and then there's some Guardian Con is going on, which is a video gaming conference, which started out as Destiny, but they've evolved into more things. So summertime's probably slowing down for a lot of the activity we like to talk about. But as we sit here idly waiting for Episode 8 trailer before the movie to come out, try to find some topics to talk about and keep everything fresh and fun. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, I thought
before we jump into Episode 2, let's what's on your mind?
Well, I posted a couple polls. E3 is coming up, starts this weekend, and I kind of threw it out there. I'll see if I can pull it up and not crash the stream this time. Cross our fingers. But I threw a poll up there saying, what's everybody more interested in? Because there's talk of the new consoles being announced, but they won't be released until next E3 or that the following. So the fall holiday season of 2020. But there's rumors of the PS5 has been announced already. Sony's already kind of had a soft release. Microsoft's doing the Xbox One S all digital edition, or Xbox One SAD. They announced that, but the next gen console's coming. There's
Let
Google's
me let me ask you a question real quick before you
yeah,
continue. You said you threw up a poll. Where'd you put that poll? Did you put it on our Facebook page?
yeah, it's on our Facebook page.
Okay, just making sure that our listeners chime into our Facebook page and take advantage of some of these polls we got. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
Continue.
okay. But Stadia from Google, their streaming service for games is coming out. Um, and then what else is it? Microsoft's had this Project X Cloud that's been kind of rumbling around for a while. There's some talks around that. So there's a lot of different interesting areas. I think this is kind of one of those years. I feel like you know um, the systems have gotten a little stagnant. I feel like you had the One X, you had the PS4 Pro or whatever that was called. Most of the people who have taken the polls, the five people who cared to respond, four excluding me, they're more interested in the game announcement. It sounds like, which I'm kind of with them. I mean, the consoles are cool, but it's just new hardware. It'll run for 3+ years, and then they'll do another refresh. I don't care about ray tracing. I don't care about VSync or is it a good console? Is it big? Is it small? What's the price point going to be? Because they're starting to encroach now on PC gaming prices. Entry level PCs. So I think that's where. Yeah, I mean, I get the concept of I have a console. It's an appliance based solution. I don't have to update the OS and drivers anymore. It's all kind of handled for me. I just turn it on and go, and I love that concept. Especially, when I first started having kids, I just didn't have the time nor the energy to want to sit there and be like, okay, is this driver working? Is this up to date? And that's
right.
time consuming. So consoles do have a place in the market. But my kids are getting on a little bit older. I really have gotten back into PC gaming. I am really embracing that again wholeheartedly. I enjoy it a lot. Not subject for another day on that around, just kind of the social side of that. But, I really don't care too much about the consoles. I think the streaming concept's interesting. I'm curious how that's going to pan out long term. I think it's still very cutting edge. I think in markets where you have developed internet, and you have gigabit plus speeds, it'll definitely have better adoption. But out where I live in the boonies of Tennessee, and then you go out and like Montana, the Dakotas, they probably don't have that great of internet, and so they're not going to be able to leverage that streaming service as much. So it is something I think that's going to be niche to start out with before it becomes big. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think you see these AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon coverage maps. 99% of the 99% of the country is covered in 4G, 5G, LTE, blah blah blah.
AT&T's got most dropped calls in the nation. They're not most handled calls. Man, I lose that service all the time outside my house.
Yes, and when I call you and you pull into your driveway, we always have to reconnect. But
exactly.
I think the net is getting cast on more remote places. Yeah, obviously there's a technological gap there, but I don't know, man. I mean, the consoles, I don't know. I mean, I'm with you. I made a switch to invested in a PC to do some PC gaming stuff, and need to eventually fix my hard drive so I can play some games again.
Yes, it'd be nice.
My storage hard drive crashed on me. I've just been so busy. Sorry for the yawn, Facebook. If there is a new console, I think this will be my last console. Just personally speaking, the amount of time I put in, and I got my money's worth out of my Xbox Ones. I think I've got one that's just it can't run very long without crashing. I've got one day one. I've got one. It was probably a 6-month old unit, and then I've got an Xbox Elite when those came out, and that's the last Xbox I've purchased. I haven't purchased the S or the X or any of the new stuff. So I don't want to. I'm not going to replace all three with a new console when this one comes out. I mean, obviously I'll run the Xbox as long as I can for media consumption, Netflix, and Hulu and all the services and all that. Those Xboxes work great for that. I just, unless there's just some real compelling reason, I'm not going to, unless there's some, somehow Bungie decides to come back to Microsoft, or there's some sort of key game announcement that's just going to drive the masses to buy this. I'm not in any real hurry to run out and get another console.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think from a dollars and cents standpoint, don't get me wrong. I think there's a convenience there. I would love to get to the point to where, I have a tower PC. I would love to have a console, or honestly, and if streaming really picks up, depending upon where, if I ever travel or whatnot, get a nice laptop, and you adopt, if crossplay becomes, a couple things have to happen. Crossplay needs to become more prevalent and more accepted across all the different platforms. And then streaming needs to pick up. But you can get a nice laptop and you can carry it with you anywhere. And then, if you're traveling or whatever else, it's like you want to take 20 minutes and jump in with your buddies on whatever game it is you can, and then jump back out. It's not a big deal, Yeah, and that's where the 1S really got to me. Is like, man, that thing's small and light. You could carry that with you on a plane. And, if you're traveling, you can plug it into the hotel and go. And the Xbox One and the 1X are chunky monkeys, if you will.
Yeah. And I think that's where the streaming service could really benefit that audience is with that play play on any device mentality. I mean, supposedly you can play it on smartphones, PCs, tablets, you name it. So I definitely think the Project xCloud or Stadia or any of the streaming services, that's the goal, right? Is to get it on any device.
Yeah, meet you
Yeah,
wherever you are. That's kind of the whole concept there, which I think
yeah,
is to me that's very exciting. That's one of those things that I'm excited about.
and I mean it kind of at this point be using the parlance of business speak, but it becomes a capex versus opex expenditure, right?
Yep.
I mean, instead of spending $500, $700 on a new PC, are you going to spend $40 a month on a service? I mean, if that service, and we talked about this way back on one of our first podcasts, is if that all-in-one service includes music and movies and TV and all that stuff, then yes. But if I got to pay $40 a month to play video games, I don't know if I'm down with that.
I think it just depends how many games are on. Like it all comes down to what the titles are, how long they stay up there,
Yeah.
Replayability and whatnot. Xbox Game Pass I had, and I canceled it. Not it's not that I didn't like it, but most of the Game Pass stuff was yes, there was some stuff for PC, but it was mostly console based, and a lot of it honestly I was frustrated with because it was released.
The games were sucked.
Well, it's not that, I mean, some of the games were not that great, but a lot of them, if you stayed consistently on Xbox Live getting the games with gold, you basically had almost the catalog that way.
Right, yeah.
And I realized that, and I was like, man, that's just kind of a letdown to me. Now, they did, some not breaking news, but Microsoft is announcing a Game Pass for PC. And they're bringing a lot of their IP titles to the PC through Steam.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about that. I'm interested about that. Again, though, I think that's one of those things is you're going into that kind of cutting edge area, which is cool, but it's like I wish the crossplay thing would become more prevalent. I really wish at the end of the day I could pay, even if I have to go straight to like Origin and because EA has EA All Access, but like, you do an Origin, a Steam. Who else is there? Who's the other one that has one of their own services for all like Blizzard, all that, whatever.
Epic Games, Blizzard,
Epic, yeah. I wish there was a way, but you could go to the developers and say, hey, you know what? I'll pay you X bucks somehow, or can I buy the game on PC, but then pay an extra $15 or something to get a copy for console X? That way, if I want to play on a console, I can because, perfect example. I got Division 2 with my PC. Love it. Love playing it. But I haven't played it a whole lot because community-wise, there's not as much out there that I'm finding that play it. But you guys play it, but y'all are on Xbox, so it makes it hard for me to want to play.
Right.
It's the whole fear of missing out type situation.
No, I'm with you. So anyway, I don't know. It's kind of a deep tangent there. We'll see. I think if the titles are right, I think if there's that, and I don't know, maybe Halo Infinite may be the one game that brings people, back to the Xbox platform over Sony, or, Forza 72, whatever, Gears of War 6. I mean, they've got a lot of great titles, and I'm sure we'll see some of that announcement at E3. Microsoft has their big briefing on Sunday. Oddly enough, is Sony even there? Sony's not at E3 this year. Is that correct?
No, they pulled out of E3. A lot of the
they're doing their own thing, right?
They're kind of doing their own thing. So, but that's not too surprising. Disney does their own thing now. Nintendo kind of does something as well, but they do theirs more frequently throughout the year whenever they just have a big announcement they want to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not too unheard of or anything for me.
So here's the schedule. I'm looking at Saturday, EA Play. All day. EA is replacing its annual press conference with a day-long streaming event. Blah, blah, blah. Sunday, Microsoft press event starting at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Be on Mixer, by the way. Considering they own Mixer, makes sense. Then Bethesda is going to be on at 5:30. What's Bethesda going to talk about? I'm surprised they're still in business.
Them and BioWare.
Yeah, BioWare is the other one. Devolver. I'm not sure what Devolver is. Probably Serious Sam. So that's Devolver. Monday, getting into E3. Ubisoft press conference at 1 p.m. I wonder what they're going to talk about. Since they just released Division 2, I don't see them spending much time on that franchise. There is the new Ghost Recon.
They'll have a lot of focus on Ghost Recon Breakout, I think. I'm excited about that one. You and I played that one a bunch. That's probably one of the few games. Like, I never played a lot of the Ghost Recons, growing up, just because, one, they were a little too intense for me, age versus, skill set and time, but they're just a little too in depth for me. But man, when Wildlands came out, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then, and then they've got Breakout coming out, and they've kind of taken on that gameplay mode of Division in a different way. Division's more looter shooter. This is more covert sneaking around. I'm pretty excited about that one. That'll be one I pick up for sure.
Yeah, it says here Ubisoft hasn't told what to tune in yet, but expect the usual streams. A good chance we'll be hearing more about Beyond Good and Evil 2, as well as a future staple series like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
I would not be shocked to hear the name Tom Clancy bandied about. It's also been quite a while since we've got a 3D Rayman platformer, so that's kind of this guy's opinion. There was a Tom Clancy game that came out, and I loved this game, and I don't know many people that did. I don't know if you ever played. It was called End War, and it was voice command real-time strategies. Think Command and Conquer activated, voice, because this was like Gen 1 of the Kinect. You could use the controller, or you could, tell Attack Squadron Bravo move to Section 12. But you had to be Attack Squadron 12, move to Bravo. I mean, you couldn't just say it in a panic, which is really, really cool. And I love that game because it was a persistent battle. There was 3 factions. There was the U.S., or I think they're called the JTF, Russians, and then kind of like the European alliance. And each of them, if you think of like your rock, paper, scissors strategy, each one of them had a strength. So like the Russian tanks were strong, but the U.S. helicopters could defeat a Russian tank, but the EU anti-air defense was strong, so it could take down helicopters. So you had to be strategic in how you persisted this battle. But there were winners, and it would play it on a global scale. And so if you
I never heard of it. I never heard of it.
It was super fun. I played it a lot. But you would build up these factions inside. You could get up the tech tree with your artillery cannons, your tanks, and all this thing, or even your ground forces, and you could call in special forces, or you could call in nuclear strikes and do all this timer-based stuff. But these games would last until you won a map or you defeated the enemy long enough. So it was really cool. It was on 360, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah, they tried to convert it over to End War Online, and it just never took off. But it was really fun. And I would have hoped that maybe with the Kinect, V2 that came out on the Xbox Ones, they would have gone back and looked at this game and maybe tried to revitalize it.
Man, Microsoft just never did anything with the Kinect. It just kind of tanked when it came to Xbox One. So it kind of stinks. But speaking of Modern Warfare games, the new Call of Duty got announced, and it's a reboot of Call of Duty. It's not a rebranding or a remake. They're kind of hitting reset on the story, and it's supposed to focus more on serious gameplay than anything, which I'm kind of excited about. I think when they did Modern Warfare 2, and after that, they just kind of started like, hey, this is zombies, and the competitive multiplayer thing really kicked off. Then Titanfall came out, and there was the wall running and the sci-fi stuff. I thought it was cool, but it just kind of got away from its roots to me. And what I've always enjoyed about Call of Duty, whether it was Modern Warfare or the World War II games, was that they were based off realistic, more combat. And so I'm excited to see that they're going back to the roots there. That'll be a good one to announce at E3, I think, too, and see some more about. But
now it says it in the Infinity Ward team or Treyarch, who's doing this one? Because I love the Infinity Ward games, the Modern Warfare 2. When Treyarch, I did not like Black Ops. When Black Ops brought in zombies, that was kind of the beginning of the end of Modern Warfare for me. Call of Duty, I switched over to Battlefield at that point. So I'm curious which production studio is going to do it.
I'm trying to see.
doesn't matter today as the same people at Infinity War today that was there
Well,
15 years
that's
ago.
the other thing. The people that are there that were there, before, are not going to be the ones that were there, back in that
Yeah.
day. Let's see here. Call of Duty Modern Warfare cosplay feature. Who is making this one? I cannot remember.
Which also begs the question: if they're going back to Modern Warfare, is
This one's
Battlefield
Infinity Ward.
Okay. Is Battlefield going to go back to more of a Modern Warfare approach and get away from the World War One, World War Two?
That pendulum swings. I think Battlefield. When I first started playing that one, they did the it was 1942. It was PC, and I thought what was funny about that it was a 3-disc installation, and so I bought a copy. My brother bought a copy, and we had a network in our house. So we networked our PCs together. Well, I went and found and parted together an old clunker kind of PC, and it became the Battlefield server for us. So, but between the two of us, we had 6 discs. So one for me on my PC, one for him on his PC. The server had a disc, and then we had 3 other discs. We'd invite friends over with their PCs, and they would install it and run it all off of those discs. And so there'd be 5 of us playing in a server against the computer. And then they had the mod for it, and it was Desert Combat. And then eventually you saw Battlefield do Vietnam. They moved into a more modern combat era with Battlefield 3, I think. And then they swung their pendulum back to World War I, World War II, which was cool. So, I don't know where they're going to go. The only thing they could really tap into that they haven't done in a while is, 2023 or 2021? They had
2142.
Yeah, 2142, yeah. When it was really sci-fi. That one was cool because you had the mechs and stuff. And that one just kind of flopped out real quick. So I could see them maybe doing that. There's been some talks and asks, in the fan base about that. So I think anything they do, though, for the most part, I enjoy the Battlefield games, but they've lost their enjoyment to me. I would love to go back because I've got the disc somewhere and install 1942 and see if there's servers up somewhere and still play it.
I bet there is. I was talking to a buddy of mine at work one time, and he was a big Battlefield guy, and I think that those Battlefield titles, there's still servers running those things.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it takes nothing to run that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think we can talk about games all night, but I mean, there's a lot more stuff. I know we need to get to the episode 2 stuff, but what are your thoughts on Mr. Robert Pattinson as Batman?
I'm fine with it. I think people are hating on it or stupid. They just need to give it up. I mean, if you go back and go back to 1989, I'm sure Michael Keaton was torn apart. Oh, how can Mr. Mom play Batman? Or people just need to shut up and let the guy. The guy's an actor. I mean, he acted as a vampire in the Twilight series. Yes, he shimmered in the light. Blah blah blah. That wasn't his doing. It was a story, and it was ways it written. And he acted. He's acted in other things, and he's a great actor. I don't
know he's a great actor. I haven't really been wowed by any work he's done.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
He got very typecasted by a lot of people, especially me. Every time I see him in something, I'm like, oh gosh, this is just the vampire dude. I thought it was funny as soon as they announced that somebody found the picture of Lego Batman from the new Batman movie, and he's all glittered out, and they're like, it's the new Batman, because he's all sparkly. I thought that was funny. I'm kind of like you. I'm not upset about it. I'm not freaking out about it. I do think that when you look at the character and kind of how he can play that kind of character type that's dark and very reserved but has this anger and he just has that sulk about him, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm interested to see what'll happen. Christian Bale is probably one of the better Batmans I've seen. Michael Keaton did a great job. Kilmer and Clooney, terrible. We had Bat Nipplegate in that one. And then, Affleck I didn't necessarily mind either, but I thought what Affleck brought to the table of all the Batmans was he had probably the voice synthesizer technology used to mask his voice. Because, no offense, if you hear Batman and Batman Begins and Dark Knight, it's just Christian Bale just talking a little grittier, and so you're not masking the voice. Yeah, you're not masking the voice, and so I thought that was cool how they did that. But outside of that, I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens.
I mean, I'm all for it. I just think people that are hating on him because he was in Twilight are just haters. I mean, that's the petition party, that I'll sign a petition to rewrite Game of Thrones, or sign a petition to rewrite Episode 8, or sign a petition
You seen there's a petition now to bring back Iron Man in the MCU?
I'm not surprised. I mean, Jesus Christ, people, you don't have to like it. You don't have to go see it. Now, my comment about him being a great actor, yeah, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I don't think he's a bad actor. I mean, I don't think he's, I don't think he's, as horrible as, anybody else off the street that could have got to play the role. What makes the story is more the script,
Yeah.
the cinematography, the lighting.
If the story's
director.
good, and if the story's good, and like you said, the director's good, the vision's good. I mean, as long as you have somebody that can direct him appropriately, should be
Right.
a problem.
Which is going to be Matt Reeves, and Matt Reeves has done some pretty good stuff. I mean,
yeah.
you look at a lot of his stuff. I mean, he did Cloverfield. He was a writer for War of the Planet of the Apes. Director for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So I mean, he's made some movies that didn't rely heavily on, well, I mean, other than Gorillas, it didn't rely heavily on over animated special effects, and it didn't, just have this larger than life, appearance to it. So I think, I don't know.
I mean, Cloverfield Lane, I watched that one, the Cloverfield Paradox. Paradox, I wasn't too excited about. That was just kind of, it tied the two movies together. But Cloverfield Lane, I thought was really good. That was a good suspenseful kind of like, ooh, what's going on? Is John Goodman the good guy here? Or is he really the villain or whatnot? Spoiler alert: he's kind of just a crazy paranoid hermit man. But
right.
War of the Planet of the Apes, not bad. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, not bad either. So I mean, again, it just comes back to like we said, script good, story good, and can the director do a good job? I think that's what happens with a lot of these things is there's just so much disruption, they'll flop out. We saw that with what was it, Justice League. We saw, there's the Dead Island 2 remake that's been in production forever, video game wise, and they're still saying it's in production, and they're going to try to come out with the game. We'll probably see an announcement at E3, but that kind of announced 7 years ago or something, and it still hasn't come out. So who knows what that's going to be like? So,
yeah,
but
I don't know. Matt, like I said, Robert Pattinson, I'm excited to see what he can do with the role. Obviously, they're abandoning the extended universe concept with recasting Batman, unless they're going to use this Batman from now on forward. Who knows?
So they said that his Batman will have no tie into the Ben Affleck Batman. So that means that whatever they release, they're going to be independent movies.
Yeah.
Which I really think what they ought to do is I think I've said this before on the podcast, but they had, what was it? You had Superman, Man of Steel. You had the Man of Steel movie, and then what was the other tie-in? Wasn't there something other tie-in before all this? It was Man of Steel. Then they did
Suicide Squad,
and they did Justice League, and that's where it kind of introduced.
Well, there was. Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's where they tied in Batman. And then it was Justice League. But it felt so rushed and so forced on us, the setup of the Justice League in that. It just didn't work to me. What I really think they're going to, if they're, in my opinion, is, we have the Joker movie coming out with Joaquin Phoenix, which looks amazing. I'm hoping it's really good. You've got the Batman that's with Robert Pattinson. We've already got Aquaman and Wonder Woman established. They're kind of doing their own solo stuff. I would be curious to see if at some point they give it some time and they pull an MCU playbook and then make the Justice League after they've got all the characters established. But it's the long game, and so far DC and Warner haven't really done well with the long game on their superhero movies.
No, they've sucked.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Shazam was terrible to me. I did not enjoy
Shazam wasn't bad. You can't take a movie like Shazam seriously. That's the thing.
Well, I think that's the thing is I went in thinking this was a good superhero movie, and I felt like it was like I talked about it before, but it's like Warriors of Virtue and a bunch of these other movies. Trouble Kid gets superpowers, becomes really cool, does some noble things, has a conflict, helps his friends out, and they all get superpowers, and they're like the Power Rangers. So, yeah.
I mean, I always said if DC wanted to go after the MCU, they should have done it on the small screen first. With the Arrowverse, you had Arrow, Flash, then all the supers kind of, the Legends of Tomorrow. I mean, a lot of those characters kind of in that. It wouldn't have been that difficult to introduce Aquaman or Bruce Wayne
Yeah.
into that universe, and then you build it up there. Granted, it's probably targeting a younger audience, but you build it up there, and then you make the transition over the big screen.
Yeah.
I think they could have done that, and it would have been more accepted, because you look at what Marvel did with um, Agents of Shield. Is it's a consistent story. They had
Yeah.
Coulson. It's the same person in both, and then even Samuel L. Jackson was in the first season of Agents of Shield in a
Lady
couple
Sif showed
episodes.
up. Yeah,
Yeah, I
they've
mean,
had little cameos and stuff to tie it in and stuff, but now it's officially a separate universe because of the snap. I think that's why they did that. But yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't know. We're getting into a saturation point with superheroes, and I feel like we've got, unless they keep it unique and captivating, they're going to start losing audience members. If we have a bunch of Shazams, we're going to lose audience members. I mean, they're going to still buy tickets because it's Marvel and kids will want like superheroes, but I think you're going to start losing the audience at some point.
yeah.
We'll see. I think Spider-Man's going to bring in the super smart Spider-Man that we've seen in the comics, and he kind of takes over to be the new Tony Stark type character. I think that'll be promising. So, there's lots there.
I mean, I think that they've got. My only gripe with Shazam had nothing to do with the movie. It was Mark Strong, who played Dr. Zavanna. I think that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Strong was in the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie. He played Sinestro. And Mark Strong's I can confidently say great actor for Mark Strong. I think he's a great actor. I would have loved to have seen him reprise his role as Sinestro. And I think if they were going to do another Green Lantern movie or Green Lantern Corps, I think having him reprise Sinestro would be solid gold in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not saying that he was bad in this role, because he wasn't. And like I said, you got to take Shazam for what it's worth. I mean, he's a kid, 12-year-old who has unlimited abilities and go toe to toe with Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. I mean, he's as strong as all of them.
Yeah.
So,
but he's a kid, so he has that maturity of a kid.
Right, but he's a kid at heart, and he's got he makes irrational decisions. But as far as a character, I think he's great, and I like the movie, and I would like to see where they go with this. I think everyone keep talking about The Rock as Black Adam, as the Black Adam is Shazam's true nemesis, and that was the one guy they mentioned in Shazam. When he goes and visits the old wizard, and he talked about the one that they thought he never relinquished his powers. They were talking about Black Adam, and Black Adam has been as Black Adam for eternity.
Yeah.
But they keep talking about The Rock to play Black Adam, and that would be amazing. I mean,
I thought that when he was casted.
He was at one point, I thought, and then I don't know if they shelved the project. I don't know, but I mean, they need to hurry up and film it while he still looks great.
Yeah.
Before he starts to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger does now. You don't want that Black Adam. So
I think for me the thing, and we're beating a dead horse here with the comic stuff, I feel like, but I'll leave it at this, is I feel like when it comes to the universes, I felt like DC hasn't done as good of a job as Marvel, and that's a no-brainer. But I feel like Marvel must have had some back office discussions we're not privy to, where it was like, hey, here is our 10-year plan or our 5-year plan, and regardless of how the movies go, we want to at least get a base character in a team movie together first. And if we do great there, then we can negotiate next steps. And instead, I feel like Warner and all them have gone in and been like, hey, we're going to throw out a Green Lantern movie. Well, if it does great, we'll continue it. If not, we're going to throw out this movie. And then they kind of like, hey, well, Marvel's doing this stuff. Let's get ahead of our get sales here and try to do the same. And there was no cohesion to any of it. It was forced and it didn't mesh well. And that to me is what I think has been the most disappointing thing out of all the whole thing. Is just there's a lot of great stories to be told there on the DC side that I think are much more darker, and they could do that better. but they just have terrible directors, leadership involved, too many people worrying about the dollars rather than trying to build the long game like you see Marvel did. Because Thor wasn't that. I think it was what was it? Thor and of the original movies, Thor and Hulk weren't the best ones, and it wasn't until they were all together on the screen that the charisma happened, and that's where they saw the success.
Well, yeah. That was, I guess, technically, if you look at the roadmap, Iron Man, or was Thor, or technically, I think Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, not the Eric Bana one, but the Edward Norton Hulk, I think, was the first movie in this MCU, just because the cameo at the end credits with Tony Stark, or was it backwards? I don't remember. But yeah, the standalone movies were fine, but you also got to remember, and yeah, like I said, we are beating a dead horse, but Warner, DC and Warner Brothers owned the small screen and the big screen for 30 years. You go back and you look at any of the Captain America, Spider-Man. I'll give Incredible Hulk a pass because it was a decent show for its time.
Oh yeah, with Lou Ferrigno.
But Captain America, Hulk, Thor, even the cartoons. I think DC had better cartoons. Super Friends and Justice League and all that. And even today, I think they still probably have better cartoons.
Yeah.
But when they started down this, and then you look in the big screen, we had Superman, and Superman 2, 3, 4, 1989 Batman. I mean, the Marvel tried to make comic movies, they were freaking horrible. I mean,
the original Captain America, the original what was the other one they did?
Well, they did Captain America. They did a Fantastic Four that went straight to trash.
Well, they did like 3 Captain Americas before we had the Captain America that landed up. Yeah,
and then there was a Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren played the Punisher. I mean, Marvel
Punisher movies actually. There was who was it? There was Dolph Lundgren, and then what's his face that played Raiden in the Mortal Kombat movie, and then the other Punisher as well, Warzone.
Yeah, Thomas Jane, and then Warzone.
Yeah,
so
oh my gosh, yeah, there was some.
I mean,
there's some rough spots in there.
Marvel had their fair share of turns. Well, back then it was a lot of straight to video stuff.
Yeah.
But the only problem with this, call it this generation of Marvel superhero movies, is Warner Brothers went into their planning with an agenda, and they wanted to kill Superman at all costs, and they made Zack Snyder kill Superman. That's all they wanted. They just wanted to kill Superman because they saw how much money DC made with the death of Superman, and then all the bringing back Superman in the comic books.
Yeah,
they went after dollar signs. They didn't care about a story. And then the executives panicked when they saw a showing of a production cut of Justice League, which was supposed to be a 2-part movie that sounded awesome. DC, I don't care. You don't need to have a build-up series. You don't need origin stories for Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, or Aquaman.
You don't. I mean, Aquaman. Here's the thing. I knew nothing.
The only one
I don't ever want to see it. Yeah. Well, here's my thing. I don't know that much about DC, so the only one I would not care to see is a Batman origin story. I mean, even in Batman versus Superman, we had an origin story referenced, and I just his parents died. We got it. I mean, we've seen it played out.
Oh yeah.
5 other. What was it? Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. Dark Knight Returns, and what was the other one? Dark Knight Rises. So it's 7 movies we've had an origin story, and then in Batman versus Superman we get it again. So 8 times.
Oh, I know. We all know.
We all know that story.
that his parents were killed.
Yeah,
we get it. We get it. No, I agree.
Superman's been told a lot, but Wonder Woman I didn't really know. Aquaman I didn't really know. And I'm okay with getting to see those as individuals. Even Cyborg was what I felt like was robbed. He didn't really get hardly any kind of an origin story. He came out of the
and that's the one character. If they had to do an origin story because everyone needs it, that's the one. So don't include him. Don't include him in your Justice League movie. He wasn't in the Justice League. He was in the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Go with Green Lantern. Go with Flash. Go with some of the other characters. Green Arrow, exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I said, we've talked about this, and we'll continue to have a debate on this forever. But
I mean, they're doing great on their streaming service. I know Swamp Thing just started to air this week.
I want to watch that.
Titans has aired. I've seen most of it. I haven't got a chance to catch up on it. I'm not
And
a
Doom
fan.
Patrol.
Doom Patrol, man. I just couldn't get into it. I might need to give it another shot, but yeah.
Yeah.
But in other exciting news, Galaxy Edge is open finally. So,
But in Anaheim,
yeah, isn't that the one that opened up? It hasn't opened up yet in Florida.
yeah, Florida opens up later this summer.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. I saw some crazy stuff like you can go build a lightsaber, and a lightsaber's like $200, and you can build a droid, and they'll have free shipping to your house, and it's just like I can go build a droid out of a hairdryer, a Raspberry Pi, and a couple other things for probably, a fifth of the price.
Yeah, how much does the droid cost?
Oh, I think it's ridiculous. It's a build your own droid, so there's no telling how much that'll cost. There's just crazy stuff like that they're doing with it. They have they have a cocktail bar, apparently a cantina you can go to, and they have like $75 drinks. So,
whoa!
Oh yeah, it's crazy some of the stuff. It looks cool. I can't wait to take out a second mortgage, not take my kids to college, and basically say, hey, we're gonna go to Disney instead of y'all getting to have weddings one day and me pay for them, and y'all go to college. But we're gonna go do this. This is gonna be exciting now. We're gonna live in the moment. How about that?
Yeah.
But when we do go, it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
There's just I can't imagine probably just camping out there for weeks on end if you could just to take in everything. There's so much at Disney in general. We've been blessed to go twice, and we went to Disney World and Disneyland out in California, and just you can go and you not ride a ride, and they have this whole adventure thing where you go and collect these sorcerer spells and unlock stuff, and you get all this magic stuff like that with a wand or something. And then there's just the hidden Mickeys you can go look for. I mean, they have so much to do besides just ride the rides that it just immerses you in. So even if you just get burned out on rides, it's like, hey, let's go try this out, and maybe your kids like that, or there's just so much. It's really, really cool to me. It's probably one of the coolest places I've ever been to so far in my life.
Yeah. I got to spend a little bit of time at Disney World. I was down there for work. I didn't get into the park, but I was impressed that, one thing I noticed is what I never saw, and this was just on the roads, is traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, they have wide roads, they have highways inside the park. They want people in the park spending money. They don't want people sitting in traffic lines.
Nope.
So there's a lot of intelligent design down there.
Oh my gosh.
I was kind of blown away at that. As an adult, you start to look at that sort of stuff that you probably didn't look at as a kid. But
yeah, I can. It's kind of funny. We got to do it was like you watch the fireworks for the I forget what they call it, the every night show they do. Mm-hmm. And we got to do like a boat tour, and they drive you around this private little pontoon boat we got, and they drive you around, tell you about all the different spots and these different spots. So like Shipwreck Cove, or forget what it's called, is actually named not after they named it that because of Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's really named that because when Walt Disney was touring the land still, his boat broke down there, and so it's a significant historical moment for him. And like this guy, that was our driver for the boat, he also does maintenance in the parks, and he's been there forever. He's like, I've got Polaroids where I stood on the top of Space Mountain and did individual shots of all 360 around Space Mountain. I have it all framed now, and it's like this huge collage of a 360 picture without a digital camera and stuff. And then he's got all the past books and all this other stuff, but he talks about how a lot of times Disney has found ways to do things safer and more efficient, and instead of holding the patents to it, they release them. And one of them was around fireworks, he was telling me. So this is from some guy, so nobody hold me to the truth on this, but he basically said Disney helped develop fireworks where they could be shot out of the air out of air pressure instead of gunpowder, which is much safer. And they gave that patent and that technology idea to all the fireworks companies out there so they could have people not blow their hands off and their faces off all the time. So it's like you said, there's a lot of intelligent design there. And I think they do so many great things like that that's behind the scenes and innovative that you see that really is cool like that. The magic bands and how you can go to the park and basically leave your wallet in the hotel, and you can have a magic band if you have an Apple Watch with cellular. That's all you needed. You can charge everything to your room, settle up because it goes on your card, make your phone calls. You don't have to carry around phones and wallets. keys. You know, you don't have to do the Adam Sandler song on that. So it's really cool to me how they think about those types of concepts.
Yeah.
All right, we are 50 minutes in, and we haven't talked about episode 2 yet. So
All right.
let's get into episode 2.
We went on a roll there. So
Well, there's just a lot of cool stuff. I mean, there's the Galaxy's Edge and you know, some other Star Wars things that are happening, and then tech-wise, there's some cool things that happen, which I want to talk about. I don't know if we'll get to or not, but E3 is coming up, and we're big gamers, so Microsoft apparently has announced the Xbox body wash, by the way.
I don't know what that means.
So just like you have, you know, Old Spice body wash, you can buy Xbox body wash.
What does it smell like?
I don't know, bro. BO and Cheetos?
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of worried.
Xbox deodorant helps you smell like a gamer, it says. Link's known as, in the U.S. as Axe, so it's an Axe body wash.
Okay. That's all you... Okay, we're done talking about it.
It's a green citrus scent with kaffir lime and winter lemon aromatic herbal middle notes of mint and sage and woody bottom notes of patchouli and clearwood.
Okay. Episode 2. Jesus.
Yeah, so episode 2, Star Wars.
Exactly in the moon are we?
Yeah. At least there was a trailer before this movie came out, Carter.
That's true.
I threw a poll out on our page on this one, too. We only had 5 respondents, 4 excluding me. Loved it or hate it? What are your thoughts on Star Wars Episode 2? Poll came in, 80% of the respondents loved it, 20% hated it. So...
Were you in the hated it group?
I actually liked it. Now, I will admit that of the 4 votes that liked it, one was me, 2 were family members, and 1 was a friend of mine.
Hey, I think you need to stop being so honest with our listeners and just say out of all the votes, 80%.
Hey, integrity, right? People want to know where you got the numbers from. So
well, they don't need to. They can see the number. They need to know that we only had 5 participants.
Yeah,
I unfortunately been so busy with my daughter's graduations and everything, I did not have a chance to participate. But anyway,
life's been.
I liked the movie. There were some parts of it that I really enjoyed. You know, some of them I was kind of like, but for the most part, I the whole story, really getting into the introduction of the bounty hunters, the one that was trying to kill Padme at the beginning. Yeah. And then you get to meet Jango Fett, and then Dooku, and the Trade Federation, Baby and all the Boba. Separatists and all that. Yeah, and then Baby Boba and all that stuff. I mean, the only scene in that movie that I'm just like, meh, is when Anakin and Padme are off falling in love. I was just like, this is dumb.
Yeah, it was weird to me. I have a lot of issues with that for several reasons. It was just, he was too whiny and angsty, and I was just thinking to myself, unless she was just into angsty, emo-y kids. And I say kids because, in episode 1, Padme is a queen, and, there's no age reference ever given in the movies, really.
No.
We know that Yoda is old. I mean, he's got gray hair.
Walks with a cane.
Walks with a cane. There's some obvious tellings here. The dude's old, or he's got some health issues. We know Anakin is a child in the first movie. I mean, he looks like he's about 10. But different. I guess that she's a Nabooian, or I don't know what the Naboos call themselves. Amidala is. So time wise, age, and all that stuff are totally different. We're assuming that Anakin's human as well. But that to me was weird. It's like, okay, how old is this dude? You think about that kind of thing. The whole Lucas had a hand in apparently all the dresses she wore too, which was weird to me. But yeah, I could have done without that whole scene. It's kind of like the casino scene in Last Jedi. Just didn't. I mean, it's a pivotal point because this is when he decides to choose love over the Jedi Order, and that's what takes him down the path that he goes into the dark side. So it is a crucial telling point, but how they delivered it and executed it was terrible in my opinion.
Yeah, and then he's. In the midst of all this, while I'm falling in love with Padme, I have horrible visions of my mother, so I go to Tatooine and slaughter an entire Sand People village.
Yeah, that's his first time of killing younglings, by the way. He kills younglings there of Sand People, so
Yes, yes.
You know, there's a great cartoon that talks about, you know, Luke showing up, and you know it's like they take the 8-bit characters from the Star Wars games, and then they're like, oh my gosh, Obi-Wan, oh my gosh, Yoda, and then he's like, hey son, and it's like, hey dad. It's like, I'm so proud of you, this and that. He's like, yeah, and all the younglings you've killed, I can't forgive that, and all these other horrible things. And
Mm-hmm.
then Leia shows up. It's like, thanks, Dad, for blowing up my home planet and killing everybody.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah,
they're these
I
plot
remember that
hole
one.
types things. They're funny, but you know, this is what this is that pivot point we see in the series of the first in the prequel trilogy, where he starts to turn dark, whether he's fully acknowledging it or not. And I think what's frustrating to me out of this whole thing, and of course I look at it from the eyes of a mature adult, I'm like, dude, why don't you just go and talk? Go freaking talk to Mace and Yoda and Obi and whoever else you need to. Be like, dude, this is what's going on. I'm having visions. It's freaking me out. I don't know what to do. And I get this fear of they're going to exile you or kick you out. Yes, that could be a risk, but
Well, I think that was
there
the
to help you.
Emperor's. That was the Emperor's plan the whole time, was to get him on his side, and where he wouldn't trust the Jedi Council. I mean,
Right.
you know, Palpatine was just filling his mind full of all sorts of, you know, you can't trust them. They,
It was
so
manipulation at its best. He was a
yeah,
child
yeah,
predator at his best.
yeah, he was.
So
I mean, what my favorite scene, and I don't know, I love the oddball scenes apparently, because my favorite scene from episode 1 was a podcast. My favorite scene in this movie is, you know, after Obi-Wan and Jango Fett have the fight on the platform and they take off in space, and Obi-Wan follows him in the ship, and they have that dogfight in the middle of an asteroid belt, and Slave One is dropping those, you know, depth charge looking canisters out
the
the back.
seismic charges or whatever they were called.
Oh my god,
that was cool.
I,
The audio was amazing in that scene too.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
a scene I just crank the surround up, and I mean, I try to shake my house apart when those things blow up. You know, and you know, and then there was a nod to American Graffiti. You know, Lucas's first major movie, when Obi-Wan goes to visit the guy in the diner, I think, and a lot of the roadsters, you know, the speeder, you know, the speeder cars that they're using kind of look like those old teacup roadsters from American Graffiti. So there was a lot of nods to that. The dialogue and the writing was kind of meh, in my opinion. I think Lucas, and this may be a concept of reality where acknowledging that these movies aren't written for older Star Wars fans, or written for newer, younger Star Wars fans.
Well, that's what Lucas has come out and said too. He's like, the prequel was written for kids,
right?
Which we know that because it was geared to selling that merch.
Sure. I mean, so maybe that's just my maturation getting in the way, but I thought the dialogue was a little just kind of, you know, juvenile is the word, but you know, the big battle at the end, you know, in the sandstorm when the clone army shows up and is fighting the separatists, that's an amazing battle.
So let's talk about the battle real quick. So they're in that arena scene. And when all the Jedi finally kind of descend down in that and make a perimeter, and you're just like, oh, this is going to be good. I was so excited to see that. And when you see all the Jedi just charging in, I felt like I was watching a bunch of cosplayers do a really bad acting job, which I think some of them were. But it just wasn't like they just all started dying. And I'm like, really? Really? This is the Jedi warriors we always hear are so freaking awesome, and they're just running straight in. And where's the I am the Force and the Force is with me type deflection of the blaster rounds? And you know, that was a letdown to me. But yeah, the bigger fight scene afterwards with the sandstorm was cool. I liked the fight with Grievous. I thought that was cool too. I like how Obi-Wan, you know, talks about how using guns are uncivilized or whatever. I forget what he exactly says. My brother knows the line. By the way, when Brandon's on our podcast, we need to do a challenge to have him recite scripted scenes word for word, because when we were growing up, he could sit there and literally we could mute the movie and he would say every character's line. It was the most annoying thing in the world.
Doesn't sound like fun.
Well, it was cool. You know, when you think about it now, oh, that's kind of cool. But like when you're watching the movie and he's just sitting over there going, blah, 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 and like throwing pillows, like, shut up, dude.
Yeah. Now was Grievous in episode 2?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about Dooku?
No, wait. No, yeah, that's right. Grievous. I'm getting it mixed up. Grievous was in episode 3.
Yeah.
I'm mixing my movies up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dooku. That's right, because he had the that was the Yoda fight. No, yeah, that was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Yoda
Yoda
fight.
and Dooku fight.
I'm getting the fights mixed up now. That was cool.
When you first see Yoda use his lightsaber and he's bouncing all over the place like
Yeah.
a crazy crackhead.
Anakin gets his hand cut off in that one, right?
Yep.
Yep, that's right. So I'm getting them mixed up, man. I got to go back and watch it again. So overall, it's like I said, I make my kids watch the movies before we go see a movie. I like the movie. It's got its flaws. All 3 of the prequels do. Jar Jar being shown episode 1, the angsty emo we love in 2, and then I don't know. I need to go back and watch 3 again so I can figure out what my grievance there is. But yeah.
I mean, as I've gotten older, I've started to appreciate the prequels a little bit more. I still don't rank them very high in my rankings of all of the Star Wars movies.
No.
But
episode Empire is probably my number 1.
Oh yeah. Well, I think Star Wars is my favorite, just because it was the one that started the whole thing.
Yeah, New Hope.
Yeah, I now I call it Star Wars. It was Star Wars. It will forever be Star Wars. I don't know this A New Hope.
Yeah. So yeah, I know I go by the name just because I get them confused. But Empire, New Hope, and Rogue One are my top 3 probably.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So, I mean, I got some other stuff I want to ask you about. Did you see Apple's announcement for their new computer?
No.
Well, they got a new Apple PC workstation type setup coming out. It's like $6,000 or something. And for you want to know how much the monitor stand is?
No. How much?
$1,000. And it's literally a monitor stand that comes on any other like Dell monitor that just pivot, tilts, rotates, and that's it. They want $1,000 for it.
Apple's new Mac Pro is a supercar. Okay.
Yeah, I threw it up in Discord, but yeah, I was not very like. Apparently, when during the stream, you can hear the audience groan as soon as they heard that it was a $1,000 monitor stand for their $5,000 Pro display.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, I will say this: it looks like it's got a magnetic lock on it or something too. But, like, somebody people are just railing on them about this. Like, this is just a reach to capitalize. Like, there's no way that thing actually costs $1,000. You're just ripping people off at this point. Apple's gone away from sustenance to just in tearing into the pocketbooks of its customer base.
They've always been like that.
Yeah, but apparently,
who thought otherwise?
People were. Here's the thing. I think people could get past some of it because, I've had different iPhones over the years, and yes, there is some nice things in there that are kind of cool to have. I don't use them all the time. The FaceTime stuff, the 3D picture slow mo, a lot of the things. Yes, you can say Android had it first, whatever, but Apple probably perfected. I felt like in a lot of ways, from a software to hardware and how it worked together and integrated seamlessly. So their phones now are getting expensive. There's no denying that, especially for the gains versus the cost are not there anymore.
I mean, the cameras. Yeah, I've got an iPhone. The cameras on the Apples are amazing.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anyone can deny that. Now, is it worth $1,000? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, we had talked about it. I think last week we talked about that show, The First, and the evolution of technology, and you were mentioning that there's that tiny little earbud and then glasses, and that's all everyone used.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about that. I was like, yeah, he's right. And I mentioned it last week, and I still think of it today. It's like that's great and all, but people aren't as connected to their devices in that show as they are today. I mean, yeah, do you need $1,000 in your pocket for Facebook and Gardenscapes or whatever games?
Yeah.
So I think as long as there's a market for people that want that sort of stuff, it's always going to be there. And but I do wish we could get a I'll call it a budget smartphone that is feature light. Maybe it doesn't have a 4K display, but I can make phone calls and send text messages on it just fine. That'd be nice.
Get you a jitterbug. It's the phone for old people, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Like the buttons are like the size of quarters. No, I agree. I do think there's a market for it. I have said before how much, there's one, it's a nostalgia piece of it. But man, I remember I had a Nokia flip phone. It's my first cell phone on my own that I got. And flip phone, color screen, real simple. I didn't have email. I had phone and text. And it was, the 10 key or what, 12 key, whatever it was.
Right.
9 and then the pound, star, and 0. So what's that? 9,
Mhm.
12 keys. Love that phone. I thought it worked great and everything else. Battery life was amazing on it. I could go like 2 or 3 days before having to charge it. I would love to get to a point to where it's like, you know what, I have it. Give me a flip phone or give me something like a Motorola Razr type phone that makes calls and texts on it. I can flip it open on the screen so I can have kind of a full screen display, but I can hit like phone mode on it, if you will. Or like I have an HTC, it says Ultimate Battery Saver mode. And it acts basically like a flip phone. It shuts off all cellular data streaming and all that stuff. And the battery will last at 5% for almost, a good 10 extra hours or something crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, what I want is a phone and not a smartphone. I don't need a data plan at that point.
Right, that's the challenge, and I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, because while there's a demand for it, the cost to develop it, produce it, and market it, and inventory it, cost of maintaining that product, I don't see it ever happening. But it would be cool to say.
I mean, yeah, if Apple just came out with a simple phone, just simple, just an Apple phone with the phone and the text and a camera.
There are some phones out there like that you can get that tie off, that basically you put a SIM card in or something. I've seen them before. They only work with Android phones or something, but and they are like it is truly, you put a SIM card in it, you tie it to it's a companion device, but you can leave your main primary smartphone at home, and it's basically a little rectangular block. It has a small display on it. It scrolls text, and it just you make calls off of it. So, I think that'd be cool. Something like that, and they're like $40 or $50. I think to me that would be nice to have for like on the boat, or something like that, because you drop your phone in the water, you're not out $1,000, you're out $40.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, yeah, I really think Apple's getting to a point now. They're grasping at straws and in people's pockets, like they're saying. I mean, they're about to have their streaming service launch. That's another topic for another day too, about the saturation of that marketplace. But yeah, new Batman. I'm interested to see what happens. I don't know much about Robert Pattinson outside of being a sparkly vampire. I think he could be an interesting take on the character. Dude's gonna have to put on some weight and learn to fight, or he's gonna have a lot of stunt double work done. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna rush the judgment on the guy. We'll see what he does.
Oh, we don't want to be like Monty Python and say they're a witch and burn them?
No. No. Past that. 2019. Gotcha. All right, I think that kind of wraps up. We've exhausted. I'm exhausted. We might have exhausted our topics. But if you're still listening, we appreciate you guys, tuning in tonight on Tuesday nights. Trying to make this our normal go-to. I did have a request one of our buddies who wishes we would bring back the Midlife Crisis matinee. I mean, we're kind of doing that with the Star Wars, so maybe let's get through the Star Wars rewatches, and maybe we can revisit that.
Yeah, we could do that.
Do something like that, but we'll see if we can work it in. But like I said, it was kind of a slow week. There wasn't much in our echo chamber worth talking about, so we kind of covered what we could and filled in where we could otherwise. But hopefully next week there might be some good stuff coming out of E3. We can talk about more gaming next week. Games themselves, not get into the platform of choice for next year. But no, once again, we appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're listening to our podcast on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, radio, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We've seen some viewers, some viewership increase. I've told quite a few people about it. So we've seen some numbers rise. So that's good. At least people are listening to the podcast. That's why we do it. We do it for you guys. So I don't have anything else to say. I'm rambling. So, Jason, you got anything?
I like turtles.
Like turtles. All right.
Oh,
Well,
hey,
as
just real quick, I just gotta ask it. So, are we gonna see the trailer before the
I'm
final
gonna hang
Star
up
Wars
on you.
movie?
If I was Lord Vader, I would be force choking you right now through Skype. I would choke your ass.
I need somebody to go. Carter, release him.
So, all right. Well, I'm going to bed. So, force be with you always. You done?